Hey everyone, welcome back to Solo Party. My name is Kane, and today we are continuing our Chapter 1 playthrough of the Chronicles of Drunagor Awakenings campaign. Last episode, we decided to save the Drunken Dwarf. Last episode, we decided to save the Drunken Warrior, so let's see how that plays out.
You reject the idea of carrying the weight of guilt from leaving a fellow warrior behind. You agree to help the man, but impose the condition that you rescue the warrior first. What is one life compared to hundreds, thousands? Don't be petty, says the man spitefully, trying to reason with you. His request had already sounded a bit strange to you before, but his reaction now makes it clear that you really shouldn't trust him. Go on then, risk all of our lives in exchange for one drunken warrior. I will find my way with or without your help. A part of you can't believe that those words were spoken by a doctrine priest, but this is not the first time you have seen the atrocities that people are capable of when their hearts are filled with despair. As you avoid further judgments, you rush down the stairs as fast as you can. Thanks to your fortuitous haste, the drunken warrior is still there, fighting bravely, flanked by more of those creatures. But that is not all, far from it. The fire has now taken over the inn completely. A monstrosity you lack the words to describe has just entered the room, like a grotesque giant corpse. The situation is so terribly tense that you need a moment to reflect on your course of action, where to start and how to face those things. To your surprise, however, your battle comrade only has eyes for something else. So we place the setup and then we go to our first interaction trigger and see how we want to deal with the drunken dwarf. Oi, are you the bartender? The dwarf shouts from where he stands, unbreakable as a 4-foot-tall colossus. His accent, as well as his clothing and traveling armor, are common to the dwarves of Caerdoon. Why don't you give me that nice bottle of grog on the top shelf, eh? It's been warm here since these nice folks started to party, and I could use a refreshment before I fetch my lost child, don't you think? He asks, speaking in a nonsensical way, or so you think. Observing the shelves he's pointing at, you can see that almost all of them have been destroyed. Every bottle of liquor in the house except for one, a treasure on top of the hill. So let's see, our options here are, we can drink from the bottle, we can give him the bottle, we can tell him there are no more drinks, we can demand that he stop this nonsense and run, or we can promise to get it if he helps you fight that huge creature. I mean, yeah, he wants the bottle, why not give him the bottle and get a little something out of it? Let's promise to get it if he helps us fight that huge creature. I'll take all the help I can get here. As you notice how the dwarf is eager for a drink, you decide to haggle. You tell him to fight first, then you both can have a drink and celebrate with his delightful bearded girl. He looks at you as he thinks, then shrugs. If only I knew where she is. Alright, but I'll tell you no forge works with no fuel. To your surprise, convincing the dwarf turns out to be an easier task than you anticipated. Perhaps the dwarf's stubbornness serves a purpose after all. And so first, we're going to recruit the follower Vorn the Warrior to our party. You'll recognize him from the core campaign. He is dry right now. Next, the party leader takes the Dragon's Breath card from the adventure deck, and we write down Drinking Pal as an outcome on our story record. And we've been given our endgame trigger. When the last monster is defeated, read End of the Adventure, Not a Moment of Peace on page 40, and then you may continue. Alright, so we have now gained Vorn as a follower. So he's got 5 sturdiness, 3 movement, 2 attack, and cleave 2, and will go in the defender slot on the initiative track. So he's on his dry side. So as a follower, Vorn is just going to stick with us through the campaign until he's defeated. And the way he has to be defeated is a single attack worth 5 or more. And we've got some familiar faces on the board, some more Gremlin Hordes and Hellspawn Brutes. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Abomination card. The Abomination has the large monster immunities and burn, 15 health, 5 attack, 2 movement, regeneration 1, and strike and stun. And with that, we were ending Vakram's turn, so it's going to go to Andreas in initiative order. So Andreas is going to start by using his agility cube for remove curse to heal 2 and cleanse 1 for Katharina. That will put her back at full health, and we'll go ahead and we're fine with her taking 1 damage from burn. We're going to take off a curse cube with that cleanse. Next, he gets an unwilling recall, and we'll use our ranged battle focus on Nyx to give her a focus and a cleanse to get rid of that poison. And we will have Andreas sped out some, since we know that the Abomination has strike in his ability, meaning that he's going to be able to target entire squares with an attack. Next, it's Vorn's turn to activate, and we're just going to move him up to attack this Gremlin Horde for 2, and because of Swarm, that's going to go down to 1. Now the Hellspawn Brutes will activate and their war cries are going to go off, but not hit any adjacent allies. So then our pink one will activate, moving 2 spaces here to get in cleave range, and then we'll attack both Nyx and Vakram for 4. Vakram will endure to prevent 3, taking 1 and a burn, and Nyx will use her cloth armor to prevent 2, taking 2 and a burn. Then our next brute will activate, and we're still trying to go for Vakram because he's at the highest health. Still able to get cleave 2 here, so both Vakram and Andreas are taking attack 4. Andreas will use his plate armor to prevent 3, taking 1 and a burn. And then Vakram is going to use Protect on the Bruiser dungeon roll as an interrupt to prevent 3, and they're using it on themselves, so they don't need to cover the target. So Vakram will take another 1 and go to burn 2. But both of those damages did put Vakram up to 4 Fury, so we are maxed out, so we're definitely going to start spending those on these monsters for the +1 damage. Now Katharina is up, and she's going to take the 1 damage from burn. So Katharina is going to start out by using a melee cube for battle focus on Nyx. That's going to put Nyx at 2 focus and no curse cubes. Then Katharina will use a range cube for the reality revision on the blue gremlin horde for a +3 to hit and telekinesis 3. So a 4 or higher to hit. And just enough, we got a 5. So 3 damage half rounded up is 2 to the gremlin horde, taking it down to 3. And unfortunately, the gremlin hordes do have large monster immunities, so the telekinesis won't go off, but we did get our hit in. And we're going to finish it by moving Katharina 2 and using our free minor action to throw these barrels at the gremlin horde, dealing 2 damage and putting them at 1 health. So now Nyx's turn is up. We're going to use the Jack of all blades on the green gremlin horde. We get +3 to hit, and this attack is keen, so a 16 or higher will crit. And we got an 8. So that'll deal a total of 2 damage to the gremlin horde. And then, since the gremlin horde is adjacent to a solid object, being that chest, it also takes Intimidate 2. Nyx also takes Burn 1 at the start of her turn. And now we perform an Unwilling Recall. And so at the start of our turn, we actually got to catalyze that Jack of all blades action cube because we were adjacent to 2 monsters. So we actually inflict Intimidate 4 onto the gremlin horde. And now we're going to do a blade distortion on the gremlin horde. We get +2 to hit, and it's going to bleed 2 and then replicate all conditions on the target on another target. So if this hits, we'll be able to put bleed 2 and Intimidate 4 also onto the Hellspawn Brute. And we hit with a 10. And Nyx does still have the slow condition, so we'll just burn that off and move 1, squeezing between these 2 units. And then it'll go to the gremlin horde. So the blue gremlin horde will go first and try to target Vakram. It's got move 4, so it'll be able to make it. And it's attacking for 4. Katharina is going to use her interrupt from the healer roll emergency to heal 2 for the target that's being attacked. So that's Vakram, going to heal 2. Katharina will now do an Unwilling Recall. And then we'll have Andreas divert to prevent 3. And Vakram prevent 2 with his leather armor. So Vakram suffers no damage and performs an Unwilling Recall. And now the green gremlin horde will activate, but it's at 2 health and has 2 bleed, so that will take it out. And now it is the Abomination's turn to act. It is going to be going for Vakram, so it's going to move up 1, and then it's attacking for 5. We are going to endure to prevent 3, and then Katharina is going to use their powerless reaction to prevent another 2, negating the rest of the collateral damage. And that is luckily it for the Abomination. We're going to draw 2 more rune tiles, and then go back to Vakram. At the start of Vakram's turn, he takes 2 burn damage. So to start off with Vakram, we are going to use our Potion of Strength. So we're going to get a Cleanse 2 and Empower. We have 3 Curse Cubes right now, so we're going to get rid of 2 of those. And our next weapon or spell attack is going to deal +4 damage. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and use our Arcing Swing with +3 to hit on both of the Hellspawn Brutes. And we are also going to spend 1 of our Fury tokens. So that's 1 from Fury, 4 from Empower. So +5, we are dealing 8 damage to each of the Hellspawn Brutes if we hit. With a +3 to hit, we need a 4 or higher. And we rolled a 5. So 8 to both Hellspawn Brutes takes them down to 4. Then we're going to take 1 step back Or sorry, I guess we're gonna have to take one step back here. And we're gonna use our ranged cube for another bounty on that goblin with 1 health. So we defeat the last gremlin horde, and we get to draw another chest card. And we drew a combustible grenade. Discard 2 at range 1, strike 1, and deal 4 spell damage and burn 4. Pretty good AoE card right there. And that will be it for Vakram's turn, so we go to Andreas. Next, Andreas will perform a defensive strike against the Hellspawn Brute adjacent to him. So he gets shield 2, and we rolled a 15 to hit, putting that Hellspawn Brute down to 1 HP. Then Andreas is going to use his melee cube to do a vigorous strike to heal 2 on Vakram, and then getting an attack in for +2 to hit. And an 8 will hit for us, defeating this Hellspawn Brute. And now we perform an unwilling recall with Andreas. Then we'll use our movement to position ourselves next to the Hellspawn Brute and the Abomination. And that will be it for Andreas' turn. Now Vorn gets to activate and move 3, which is just enough to get in his Cleave 2 attack on both the Abomination and Hellspawn Brute. So now the Abomination is at 13 and the Hellspawn Brute is at 2, putting it in lethal range with the bleed. So now the Hellspawn Brute will activate and succumb to its bleed. And all that's left is the Abomination. So now Katarina's turn. Alright, so Katarina's going to start by moving 3 to this chest and using their free minor action to search. We rolled a blank on the trap die, and we drew a treasure trove. So this is one of the new epic rare items, and this is kind of part of the new weapons and equipment system for this game. So there's no longer reward 1, 2, and 3. Now there is a spoils system. So we can look at this card and it says, when you draw this card, shuffle the spoils of the hero, the standard items deck, reveal the top 6 minus the number of heroes, pick one of them and return the rest to the deck. So we've got 4 heroes in play, so we're gonna draw 2. All right, so the 2 items we drew were the Skull Piercer. So this is an offhand weapon, and it gives us the ability to make a melee or ranged weapon attack with +0 to hit, but inflicts brittle, meaning again that the next attack against it that hits will be a critical hit. Then we also drew Exquisite Mail, which can be cloth or plate armor, and it gives you reinforced absorption. Self, you can prevent 3, and you may take a curse cube to give this prevent a +2 bonus. Okay, so that's pretty good for cloth or plate. And so I think the Exquisite Mail is too good to pass up. I would love to put it on Vakram, but it's only cloth or plate armor, and Vakram is proficient in leather armor. So I think we're gonna get this to Katharina, and then when we get a chance, hand it over to Andreas for him to equip it. And now Katharina will use her agility skill Haste to move up 3 and then curse and catalyze. So she's gonna move there. And then we're gonna use our battle focus melee skill. And since this is catalyzed, we're gonna double those numbers. So we're going to focus 2 and cleanse 2 on Andreas. So he's gonna gain 2 focus, and then we have 3 curse cubes on him, so we're gonna get to remove 2 of those. Nyx is going to start with a ranged pounce ability. We get +3 to hit. And a 4 is exactly what we need. So that'll be 3 more damage to the Abomination, putting it at 10. And then since the Abomination is fine, it's going to take bleed 4. Next, we're going to move 3. And we're going to use our agility cube to ninjutsu. So self, we get to focus 1 and then swap places with furniture. So we're going to choose the treasure chest. And then we're going to spend 2 of our focus, putting us down to 1, to be able to use our blood toll ability and take an additional cube action this turn. And we will follow that with down the masses for our split 3 damage spell attack. So the Abomination is down to 7 health, and it's its turn to activate. At the start of the activation, it's going to take 4 bleed, taking it down to 3 health, and then it will regenerate 1, going up to 4. He's going to be able to move to target Vakram, and hit for 5. Andreas is going to use his Endure skill from the Warden roll to prevent 3, and Vakram will prevent the last 2 with his leather armor. And with that, move 2. Now we draw another rune and then put it up to Vakram, who I think is going to be able to finish the abomination off on this turn. So Vakram starts by taking 1 from burn. And so to get full use out of everything before we defeat the abomination on this turn, let's go ahead and move Vakram 1 more to be next to the chest and use our free minor action to search. And he will be inflicted with the slow condition. Okay, we drew the other epic rare. I guess I didn't shuffle them as good as I thought I did. They were both right on top of each other. But so this is how we get to the next level of equipment. So how there was the 1, 2, and 3, that's kind of here, but you have to have these resources in order to upgrade your weapons. So this tells you can discard this along with another non-starter gear or epic item in order to upgrade your weapon to the next tier. And now Vakram will use his first ability cube to move back to the abomination, perform an unwilling recall, and then we are going to use a melee cube for our bravado attack to get a +3 to hit. We will also spend our fury to give us +1 damage, totaling at 4, so if this hits on a 4 or higher, we will defeat the abomination. And we got a 16. The abomination is defeated. As you get rid of the monstrous thing that blocked the entrance, you find yourself cornered by a fire that will soon take over the whole place. The indistinct screams continue outside. As much as walking out the front door of Eredrin's was not your initial plan, you now find yourself with no choice. The burst of shapeless creatures will certainly wait for you there, but to be honest, you are one of the few who could still choose to face them directly rather than being ambushed by them, or almost. The way this all took place, the cruelty and the destruction you witnessed, the poor citizens never had a chance. They would never have expected to be attacked in the heart of their city, during their holidays, and by an army made of warriors who came from nowhere. What could fishermen, innkeepers, and stole merchants do against a horde of mindless creatures that were willing even to hurt themselves in order to make a victim of someone else? For an instant, a brief moment when uncertainty fills your heart and you contemplate that this could also be your end, you wish you had done things differently and had accompanied that priest to learn the truth. But doubt, like despair, is fleeting, and you soon regain the awareness that you did the right thing. It was the compassionate thing to do. Screw the festival, screw the once-in-100 years eclipse. It's time to find a boat off this cursed island. And the adventure ends here. If any hero has the Dragon's Breath adventure card, they may choose to give it to Vorn. So the Dragon's Breath adventure card is what we got earlier. This item right here. It gives us some options to drink it, but this is, I believe, what Vorn was after, and we already said we'd give it to him, so I didn't want to go back on my word. And so we'll give it to Vorn, and if we do, they discard it and flip Vorn's card to its fueled side. Okay, so we get to upgrade our Vorn basically by giving him that drink. And so remember, he was a 3 cleave 2 2, and now we're a 4 movement cleave 2 and 3. And we may now proceed to the camp phase. So we'll end it here, and at the start of the next video, I'll let you all know what we got from our camp phase. See you next time.